The Misfitters, read by Tobias Wanger. Prologue. What if I told you that magic existed? Would you believe me? What if there were a magical world where children alike thrive to be seen, heard, and appreciated? Well, I lied just then. Only one child will receive such treatment, to be seen, to be heard, and to be appreciated in this magical world. And I'm sure we all know the name. Harry Potter. Who cares about that guy anyway? This story isn't about him. For once, a new story appears. One of a child who seeks such validation. A child who will never be as good as Harry Potter. Now, what if I told you that throughout this story, this child will seek great wonders, complete long journeys and dangerous tasks, all in the end never receiving a single celebration for his actions, for any of his hardships? Would you believe that cruelty? That injustice? Well, it's easy to go unseen when the bigger picture is standing right in front of you, and you certainly feel the fiery burden of your own self. But in the end, maybe the fiery burden was the friends we made along the way. Maybe we are all forgotten in the end, but between us, our journey truly exists, was really true, and truly flourished. Maybe no one remembers us in the battle, but we had stopped the World War. Maybe no one remembers that guy who donated to charity, but he helped save the starving children. But what is a hero's journey without a treasure? And what is an end without a beginning? Well, unlike many unsolved questions, things that may go unanswered, there is a story, and there is a beginning, and there will be an end. The story of a child named Chance and his two best friends. Chapter 1. The Bunker. Chance was well enough, walking towards the library with a book in his hands, his nose very well buried deep inside as he studied the words. Now, from an outsider's perspective, this may look like a stereotypical Ravenclaw. Posture well kept, hair all neat, and a face in a book, of course. But little did they know, Chance wasn't actually reading. He was just looking at the little cover flip animation at the bottom of his page. Flip, flip. Chance flipped the little man at the bottom between the two pages as he bounced up and down, waving his arms. Don't wave your arms at me, little guy, or you might just get slammed, Chance said. Slam! He slammed the book shut as he walked into the library. The librarian gave him a well-deserved shush. Chance cringed. It was his third year of Hogwarts, and he felt like nothing had even begun. When he was told he was going to be a wizard, he expected all this cool shit to happen. Not more homework, just like his normal school. What a bummer. He knew he couldn't be ungrateful, though. It's nice to know that broom flying is something to look forward to, and the only game you can play on it. Quidditch. It was also so comforting to know that a dark wizard used to be around. Good thing they got rid of that guy. Even better to know that unlike regular racism he now had to deal with wizard racism. What a plus! Being a muggle wasn't easy, especially when you just don't fit in. Being sorted into Ravenclaw wasn't bad, but it was for Chance. He had felt inconsequential ever since that stupid hat touched his head. He never seemed to do what was expected of him, not from just everyone, but his own house. It seemed a little harsh to put 11-year-olds against each other, especially with the lingerment of competition. The wizard world was confusing, but if Chance knew one thing from his muggle world, it was that bribing kids with rewards to get them to perform well in school was a horrible idea, and it proved to still hold up here as well. Not only does it bring stress, but it brings side choosing and it just sucks. Chance knew that. He'd even go on a limb to say he'd rather be at home with his parents than training to be a wizard. The only thing he's got going for him is his good buddy, Davidson. Davidson was a boy that had brown skin with vitiligo and cool locks. He put in a lot of effort to make himself look nice, and the effort paid off. He wore a nice yellow bandana that went well with his yellow uniform. Davidson was a Hufflepuff, and Chance couldn't give any less of a shit. They have been best friends since they first met in their first year. It was sure a bummer to hear that this nice kid he met was put in a different house than him, but it didn't stop either of them from seeking each other out. Turns out, Davy couldn't give any less of a shit too, and he made it abundantly clear that he too hated that sorting hat and the system around it. They never saw color. They saw black and white, just two friends and nothing to do with their complementary colors. Chance caught Davy's eye as he stood at the library's door. Davy threw up a hand to show that he was waving Chance over to his table. Chance trotted over quickly, skipping a little as he hurried, pulling out a chair eagerly and sitting down. Davy hurriedly opened the parchment he had to show the Daily Prophet. "Look, Chance, you gotta see this shit." Davy skimmed his finger on the words, pointing at a picture of a newly introduced broom. The newest addition yet. They added smoke to the back so you can literally smoke your enemies as you fly by. How gnarly is that? Davy gleamed with admiration. Davy was a flyer. He played Quidditch for the Hufflepuff team and was considered the fastest flyer. It wasn't often someone could take the quaffle from him once he got his hands on it. Personally, Chance never understood the appeal of Quidditch. It seemed like a mix of soccer and basketball, but there was no dribbling, and you were propelled into the air at around 50 feet high. Not to mention 3 random goals. It seemed like a lot of rules and stuff to remember. Also, dangerous how a bludger can so easily knock you off your broom, killing you from the fall instantly. It was a surprise how they didn't ban this game. Well, maybe they wouldn't, since it's their only form of athletic entertainment. The snitch never made sense either. You catch it, you most likely win. Yet Harry goddamn Potter seems to do it effortlessly every damn time. So what even was the point of trying? Also, it never ends until you actually catch it, so what was all the work for? It seemed very rare that a team would be 150 points ahead in order to win regardless. Even more rare now that Potter catches it within 10 damn minutes. But Davy seemed to like it, so Chance was happy for him. "That's honestly funny," Chance spoke amusedly. Flipping over the Prophet, it read about a more serious note. "Ah, so they still haven't found that murderer, Sirius Black, huh?" Davy crossed his arms, not really surprised. "The man's escaped Azkaban," Chance enhanced his pronunciation. Davy glanced at him with a solemn look. "I wouldn't expect them to ever get him back in there." Davy lowered his eyes onto the Prophet, getting closer to the paper once his eyes locked on something new. "Wait, hold on a second," ushering Chance's focus back onto him as he went to flip his flippable animated guy in his book. "Yeah? Dark arts performing wizard back at it again after years of hibernation. The unknown uncaught wizard Rather strikes a local wizard-inhabited town after being undetected for 12 years, leaving the scene yet again, unscathed." Davy read on, using his finger and squinting against the pages, his eyebrows furrowed. "And while Sirius Black is around, do you think they are correlated?" Chance asked Davy as he began to point at the paper as well. Davy shrugged. "No clue. It's possible. One hell of a coincidence. All I know now is that we are in for another ride this year." "I would honestly not be surprised if Potter had something to do with this as well," Chance shook his head. Davy sighed. "Damn Gryffindors." "Damn Gryffindors," Chance agreed. Now, Chance hated the sorting hat and the house system, but if there was one takeaway from this experience, it was that Gryffindors needed to be humbled. No one cares about how many times you've won the house cup. No one asked for you to brag about Harry Potter being within your house. It wasn't hard to hear that boy whispering about not wanting to be in Slytherin. He was bad at whispering. Nor was it undeniable that time he spoke Parseltongue at Justin Finch Fletchley in the dueling club his second year. Davy had reported that Justin was frightened. That boy was made for Slytherin. Or maybe not. Since word got around, he wielded the sword of Godric Gryffindor. The sword only wielded by true Gryffindors. Who knows? Almost all known heroes were Gryffindors, and the cycle never seemed to stop as the heroic bravery of Harry Potter steps into frame, the boy who lived. Heroes' attributes tended to be what a Gryffindor's was, but Chance strongly believed a hero didn't need to be brave, but to be good enough. Chance was not good enough, but he didn't plan on being a hero anytime soon. Davy rolled up the Prophet and threw it on top of his sacks of books, apparating them away. Supposedly to his common room. Lazily, with just the flick of his wrist, he sighed. "What are we gonna do?" He leaned back in his chair, looking unamused at Chance. Chance pondered, bouncing his head back and forth as he bit his cheek. He tapped his hands on the side of his chair. He hummed. Ignore it? Right on, Davy high-fived Chance. Davy scooted out of his chair. I guess I'll see you sometime later. I got Quidditch practice real soon. Merlin knows I don't miss Quidditch practice. Davy bumped his chest with his fist, pledging to the holy Quidditch. Chance smiled and waved him off with a shoe signal. Yeah, you go do that. I have other important businesses to attend to as well. As he grabbed his kitty book, flipping to a new page with a different corner man, he conjured himself a red cap and placed it backwards on his head. Davy chuckled and sprinted off and out of the library doors. Chance's smile faltered as he awkwardly shuffled in his seat. He took a quick glance at the paper as he flipped between the two pages. He then shut the book and set off to the exit of the building. Exiting the building into the cool air of fall, Chance made sure to bring his scarf as the weather had seemed to get colder. He no longer had his cap as it was confiscated for not being a part of the uniform standards. With all the Dementors around, it was always cold. Not many kids would go outside, even on school grounds like the courtyard, but Chance didn't care. Suck my soul and kiss me if you want, Dementors, as he would say. Kisses in, the saying, obviously not, actually making out with a Dementor. That would be vile. He snuck past the Dementors and journeyed off into the trees, following a path. The thought of Sirius Black didn't scare him. What would Sirius Black want with a 13-year-old boy? So walking outside was easy. But his thoughts were not so easy to surpass. Chance had issues, no doubt, but issues accepting himself and who he is, and what he is. Going on paths along with the woods always let him clear his head from the pressure and stress of school. What was not expected, or stress-relieving, was falling through a hole in the ground into a dust-ridden hideaway. Chance let out a yelp as his foot sunk into the air. He reached out to grab onto something, but to no avail. His back hit the floor with a thud, knocking the wind out of him. He gasped for air, but let out several coughs as the dirt and dust that came up around him. Swatting it away, he was met with darkness. Apart from the small hole way up above that he fell through, Chance grumbled. Lumos, he casted. Chance clammed up at the sight of the dark bunker. It was a very well-designed living space, a one-room rocky place, but it had lovely wooden bookshelves with a desk. The bed, luckily, had no one in it, but the sheets were undone and thin. On the desk were scattered papers, letters, books, and a map that marked several red threads across it. He furrowed his brows at everything he could see, taking everything in. Now, he could just leave, and he would have if he hadn't seen the diary laying dead center of the desk. He approached closer, scribbled out in fine black ink with bold writing. I shall return, he read to himself, picking up the book and reading through it. It seemed to be a journal, a diary, perhaps? Chance knew that taking this would be horribly unforgettable and unforgivable. He knew this because he stole his sister's journal when he was very young. God, he knew never to do that again. But something about this book seemed important. Hidden in a bunker. This couldn't possibly be just some ordinary diary, could it? He didn't really have time to decide because the sound of boots hitting gravel above him sent a spike of panic through his body. His breath hitched as he looked towards the hole. A shadow casted down the ladder as rocks fell in. Chance looked around in a hurry, noticing the bed was just tall enough for him to squeeze under. With no second thoughts, he hid quickly, shimmying into place under the bed. He was horrified, holding the book in his hands tightly. Soon enough, he saw two boots hit the stone floor. It would have echoed if the walls weren't littered with paper and shelves. If Chance were to shake any harder, the person would have for sure seen the bed rattle. Holding a hand over his mouth, he clawed at his lips to hush himself from whimpering out of fear. It wasn't any better when the person walked towards him. The only light now in the room was the candle on the shelf next to the desk. Otherwise, Chance would totally be able to see the nice pair of boots this person acquired, but the person was the shadow for as far as Chance could see. With a grunt, the person climbed up on the bed. It sounded like a man, but Chance didn't really care to analyze at the moment. It had taken a while, but soon he heard the snoring of the person. Chance shimmied out from under the bed, looking back at the man laying on top, from the ground. He covered his mouth again, biting against his fingers to silence himself. He stood with his legs shaking and slowly walked towards the ladder. Lucky for him, they didn't seem to squeak as he climbed. How horrible that would have been.
Alohomora, Chance whispered with a voice crack.
The bunker door clicked open, and he was able to slip out with ease. God forgive him for stealing and pissing his pants slightly after that encounter. Chance booked it back to the castle and into the Ravenclaw common room. He knew he'd have to tell Davy about this tomorrow, and he had to collect himself first. Even after collecting himself, Chance never realized where his scarf had gone.